All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Talking some baseball with my man, Big Nades. Big Nades. What's going on this Monday afternoon? Jump right into it. Throw it over to you first. Usually I talk too long on these intros. How was your weekend, man? What is going on in your world?
What's going on, my man Tidal? Good to be back with you. The standard crew here, me and you, Monday through Wednesday. Nice little baseball slate here we got tonight. Good weekend over here at SHIPITNation.com. And hey, the weather's been great here in Wisconsin. Been out on the golf course more than most people, so definitely fortunate for that. Playing a little bit better. You might not want to roster me yet in showdown format because the birdies are a little few and far between in terms of scoring. But overall, it's been fun here in Wisconsin weather. Got to enjoy it when it's nice here. You know how it is being from Wisconsin. But you're a little smarter than I am moving south to Arizona where the weather's like it is now all year long down there. So definitely bravo for moving there. But overall, it's been good. Really good weekend yesterday. The two chalk pitchers definitely got there, but I had a very profitable day not playing those and going with a different route. Overall, it was a good pitching slate, good bat slate, and looks like a nice little interesting slate we got going on tonight too. Some really good hitting spots. Good pitching spots in underpriced pitchers going overall, but ready to dive in.
Absolutely, yeah. You were talking about what was the weather today in Wisconsin? Because my girlfriend, she just got home yesterday, and she told me it was cold this morning, 64 and rainy down by Milwaukee. So I told her because I'm flying back home. I have a wedding this week. I'll be in Wisconsin. I'll be up north, even more north of you for the 4th. I'll be up in Shawano for the 4th with some of my buddies. But yeah, I'll be back for 2 weeks in Wisconsin, and I am scared a little bit. When I heard 64 and rainy, and it's 103, 105 out here every day, I was nervous. So what was the weather you're talking about that's so nice?
Yeah, I mean, all weekend long it was like 90 degrees. I mean, I went out fishing on Saturday, got absolute. I mean, I look like a Maine lobster right now. So we're dealing with that. But hey, you got to enjoy the weather. Today was a little rainy. I will give it to her. It's about 60, mid-60s right now and rainy, but we needed the rain bad. The golf courses look like a brown hayfield out there for the most part, so they definitely needed the rain, so I'll appreciate it. But, Tidal, good news for you is it's going to be in the mid-80s coming up here in the next couple weeks. And then next weekend and over the 4th, it's going to be like mid-80s, 88, 85, sunny, partly cloudy, so you should be good. I'm going to be up at the cottage as well, a little bit north of Shawano, even more than you are. So should be fun. I think you missed the bad weather overall, so you should be all right.
Good. I like to hear that for sure. Lacrosse area right here. Elkhart, TJ saying a lot of Wisconsinites in chat, no doubt about it though. Toga, appreciate that. Like the best MLB show in DFS. We appreciate all you guys out there. We do appreciate if you hit that like button, hit that big black subscribe button. AQ talking about the SHIPIT colors. Yes, sir. Pretty much a SHIPIT colors. Rocking FanDuel today. Give DraftKings some love before. All the sites are fun. Money to be made on all of them. But yeah, I'm excited for the 4th. 90 degrees, Jordan. Definitely pumped. I was out golfing too yesterday. Got out to TPC for my first time. My buddy works there, so I was able to go out. And man, yeah, what a beautiful course that is. And yeah, 100 plus for me, which is no surprise. I am not a good golfer, no doubt about that. Enjoy hitting the ball though, having some fun, drinking some beers. Stiff, what's going on, man? Eric Johnson in here. Who else do we have in chat before we break down these? Mike Carr, Hamwich, our guy, Bumps in here. William, Squatch is in here. Paraby, Randy. Appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. Trevor's in here. Joe's in here. Lyle's in here as well. Yeah, appreciate all you hanging out. Like button, big black subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Corey Pooler in here as well. Nades, yeah, we were talking a little bit about this slate. I mean, 6 games, so thin for a Monday, but it's an interesting one. Pitching, they finally did it right with Spencer Strider on DraftKings. You definitely have to pay up for him. There's by no means a lock. I think he will be the highest owned pitcher, but multiple options below him. And then when you talk to bats, I think ownership's going to be pretty spread out too. No one team just in a smash spot in Coors or anything like that. Multiple teams, similar totals. I think it's an interesting slate. Is a little weather to monitor. Again, we always talk about in the show, Nadesify is not a weatherman. I'm not a weatherman. There are weathermen in the industry. You can find free content. Kevin Roth on Twitter is the guy that I look at. Does a great job. Of course, it's a tough business out there, but right now he has it Cincy and Baltimore, and then the Milwaukee and the Mets. A little concern. Just monitor those two games. Sounds like I'm taking away from it that they'll play. Maybe a little slight delay concern in New York, which is important because of Justin Verlander. But those are the two weather games. I'm going to talk about, and Nate, we'll talk on this show like everything plays just fine because I think that is the most likely outcome. But MLB DFS, you have to monitor weather, of course. But let's go pitching, Nades. 8K and should we go 8K and above? Yeah, we can do 8K and above. I mean, there's not really many options. We'll be talking 7K or 8K and below, but let's go 8K and above to start. Spencer Strider all the way up at 12.6, 9.5K prop though. Not very often you see that. Minnesota, a bunch of Ks in that lineup. Luis Castillo, $1,600 price savings right there. But then Verlander 8.3, Andrew Heaney 8K as well. I think both viable. No Sonny Gray for me. He's a very easy cross off. If you have interest, talk about it though. But 4 pitchers above 8K. Talk about all of them, Nays, and what you're doing.
Yeah, very interesting slate here. I mean, if Strider wasn't finally priced to where he should be, I mean, we'd probably see about 80% projected ownership on this guy against Minnesota, right? The best strikeout team in the league to target, and one of the best strikeout pitchers in all of baseball in Mr. Strider there. I get it, right? He's had some down starts, but his strikeout stuff has still constantly been there. The argument isn't if Strider's going to get there, right? The argument is more he's 12.6. There's guys on the slate, particularly I have interest in 4 of them, with the most expensive one being at 8,300. And look, Title, we like the Braves, right? Incredible weather in Atlanta, going against Sonny Gray. So I'm definitely with you out on Sonny Gray there. And Texas is expensive. I mean, Seattle's got some expensive bats. Baltimore, Cincinnati have some expensive bats in a good weather game there. The Mets overall are pretty cheap, but they do have some expensive bats. So, I mean, Strider clear cut is definitely the SP1 on the slate just from strikeout upside alone. The issue it becomes is roster construction. I personally love the 4 pitchers in Justin Verlander, Heaney, and then the 2 guys there in the 7K range that we'll talk on personally. So I'm fine starting with one of those guys. But yeah, I mean, far and away, Spencer Strider will be about 50% owned for a good reason. I mean, 9.5K prop is incredible to see. I mean, this Minnesota team is just, I've been targeting pitchers against Minnesota on every one of these shows. Everyone kind of knows that. And now you have one of the best pitchers in all of baseball going up against these guys. I mean, they've got a 28% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching on the road. Team ISO just 160. Really, I mean, the only guys I'm really scared of in this lineup right now are Max Kepler, Carlos Correa. Yeah, sure, Donovan Solano has shown some power, Joey Gallo, but I mean, Gallo's power comes with 40+% strikeout rate. So I do think Strider can get away. The only thing is right, he's going to be owned. He's $12,600 on your roster. And I just think his ceiling is far and away the highest, right? But I think his median score here, I think, can be matched by these other 4 pitchers overall. So I actually might leave Strider out, to be honest, on my main team for sure. I'm playing 3 teams tonight. Strider will be on 1, but I'm probably going to fade Strider on the other 2, just due to salary, due to the ownership, due to the weather, and just if he really needs a ceiling game is basically what he needs at this price tag. So that's where I'm at. Castillo's interesting. I am seeing a decent amount of ownership on Castillo as well. He struggled a little bit here, but he is back at home. Seattle is a good pitcher's park. But again, I just don't like really picking on these Nationals, man. They just put the ball in play. 17% K rate against righties on the road this season. Yeah, they don't have power, but I mean, I've seen it too many times where I pick pitchers against these Nationals. It's a 1-2 count Title. They throw their hands at it, throw a blooper over the infield, and really at 11th K, I would much rather just find $1,600, to be honest with you. There's some cheap bats you can go to. If I'm going to pay up, I'm going all the way up to Strider. So Castillo is probably going to miss the cut for me, to be honest, because if I'm going up, I'm going all the way up. Verlander, I love Verlander here. Title, our Brewers are pretty woeful here, especially this lineup that they're rolling out here. And I get it, right? Justin Verlander hasn't been the same, but he has had back pretty solid starts overall. And this Brewers team, I mean, projected 25% K rate. There is some weather concerns in this game, but I do think right now, as it stands, I'm still going to ride the Verlander train here. 8,300 against this Brewers team is just too hard to pass up, personally, for me. So I do like him quite a bit. He's actually kind of my SP1 when you consider the ownership, the matchup, everything, and what it can do to your roster, right? You can build some really good teams, I'll tell you that, with Verlander in there at his price tag. In terms of going down a little bit further, I do have interest in Andrew Heaney against the Detroit Tigers here. Pretty heavy favorite, 6.5 K prop, I believe, for him at 8K against these Tigers. But overall, I mean, these Tigers have been pesky over a little bit, but I mean, they're still striking out over 26% time against lefties on the road here. Texas should have, I mean, everyone wants to play the Texas bats for a good reason, right? Should have run support behind him. So I always talk about that, right? Maybe they're not pressing as much on the mound out there, not really trying to pinch corners too much. They're kind of just going out there. If the strikeouts come, they come. It is the Detroit Tigers we are talking about, so the strikeouts should be there overall. So those are kind of the four guys, the three guys I'm interested in above 8K. Sonny Gray is going to miss the cut for me. Castillo is probably going to miss the cut, and I like the other three guys quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely a good breakdown. The Castillo one was the one that I was going back and forth on the most because, like, I'm seeing ownership. Some people have him like 30%. Like, I think Luis Castillo might be 15% owned. I think people might really just go all the way to Strider, or they're just going to go all the way to the 8K range. Heaney, Cease, Verlander, all of that. And like Eric Johnson in here is talking about Sonny Gray, thoughts on him. You and I both don't like Sonny Gray. I actually like Atlanta. Good hitting weather there. I do not like picking on Atlanta. Sonny Gray hasn't looked he's looked off as of late. But Eric Johnson saying, yeah, but he's 3% owned for sure. I mean, that's the thing we're talking about in here. Like 3% owned pitcher, especially like a Sonny Gray, like you can make a case for just game theory wise and go that way. Personally, I'd rather go the Luis Castillo route. He's not going to be as low owned as Sonny Gray. But man, this Nats team, yeah, they're definitely pesky, but they definitely don't have a lot of power. Castillo, he's walking a little. Last two games, his walks have been up a little bit, but still 6.5 K prop. I mean, man, we know Luis Castillo. The dude's been an ace for a while now. We know he has K upside. No pop in this Washington team. If Strider's 55%, 60%, and Luis Castillo's 15%, just naturally game theory wise, and I'll give it out for the people for free. Go over to the pitcher rankings at SHIPITNation.com. Luis Castillo's sitting number one, man, and I think that's what just pushed me over the edge looking at that. So, yeah, the game theory aspect of it, just like kind of Eric Johnson talking Sonny Gray, his ownership, taking a shot there. I like Luis Castillo because I think he gets squeezed out in that dead range, which people will look at. Strider, for sure, yeah. If you have the salary, SP1, but there are cheap bats. There's always cheap bats, but a lot of the good spots have expensive bats. You do want to play in those stacks. So, yeah, if you can fit them, you can fit them. If you can't, I like Luis Castillo right there, 1,600 less. You talked Verlander, Heaney. I don't have a strong lean. I guess we'll go below the 8K range because my favorite, if I had to go in the Verlander, Heaney, Cease, Detmers range, which I think all get grouped together, they all get pretty solid ownership. I think Cease would be my favorite just with the K upside. I mean, the strikeouts have been there the past couple starts. Highest K prop on the board right here at 6.5, some juice on the over. Get by some of the top, the Trouts, the Otanis of the world, the top half of this Angels order. You're not worried about the bottom. So I think chasing upside with Cease would be where I go. But all four of those guys right in that range, projected really similar. Ownership should be pretty similar. Do you have strong leans on any of that range? Anything else 8K and below?
Yeah, Cease is SP1 for me, all things considered. LA, right? They just dropped a freaking 24 runs, whatever it was, right? They had 24 runs, I think, in the fourth inning in Coors Field, right, on Saturday. What they come do on Sunday, they came back and put 3 runs up on the board. I always attack teams coming out of Coors Field, especially the first game. Now they come out of Colorado, they go back home to LA, and they get Dylan Cease, who has been actually very, very good. Barrel rate of just 8%, strikeout rate approaching 27% so far on the year. And this Angels team at home strikes out at nearly a 27% clip. So, I mean, at 7,700, I'm seeing him as kind of the lowest owned between Verlander, Heaney, and Detmers. I love him. I love Cease. I talked about it early in the Discord over at SHIPITNation.com this morning already. I was already looking at Cease. And I don't think, I mean, he's a dog here because the Angels, obviously what they just did in Coors, right? They're at home now. And everyone just seems to be going right to the other side of that game. Detmers against these White Sox. I do like him a little bit too, right? 7,300. I think he does have some K upside in this White Sox team against this White Sox team. But White Sox have started to hit the ball a little bit back. Obviously, the weather's improving, right? In Chicago, across the Midwest, it's been super hot the last couple of weeks. Chicago found their sticks a little bit, but they still do strike out a decent amount. I mean, 24%. But you have Jake Berger in there, Clint Frazier, Eloy Jimenez, Robert, all striking out at least 30% against left-handed pitching on the road this year. So I do think Detmers, if I'm not mistaken, he has pitched pretty well at home as well. So I do think he can get some Ks in there. And I mean, at 7,300, you could go just pair. Tito, just grab the same game pairing, right? I typically do this a lot, right? Grab Cease, grab Detmers, just hope for a 2-1, 3-1 type game, right? And they both get there at their price tags and allow you to spend up for Texas, allow you to spend up for Atlanta, whatever you want to do, right? And maybe they're 24, 25 DraftKings points combined, right? They get you 50, 60 points combined, the two of them, right? Maybe that's enough. Then going Strider, getting 30 points from Strider, right? And then having to punt a couple bats, right? So I like those two guys a ton. In terms of cheap guys down, the only guy I would possibly look at is, it's really gross to say overall, but Matthew Boyd, talk about these starting pitcher rankings, right? That are rankings over here, SHIPITNation.com, these proprietary tools. Mr. Matthew Boyd is staring me in the face because he is ranked pretty high. It is a little bit of double leverage situation too. Texas is probably going to be the chalkiest stack of the day for a good reason. I mean, they got a 5.5 implied run total, almost good. I mean, they hit better at home. They're a better team at home overall. So I do think Matthew Boyd, if I'm going down, would be my preference, but I really just like rounding out my teams in that 7K and low 8K range personally. So I don't know if I get to Boyd, but that's the only guy I would look at down below.
Yeah, it makes sense. I no chance. Anyone under Detmers, there's no chance for me. There's just enough guys on this slate, like Strider, Castillo, Verlander, Heaney, Cease, Detmers. 6 guys right there. I hate having a pitching pool that big anyway, especially talking on a 6-game slate. If I was 150 and if I had 400 teams, like it is those 6. I think all 6 are very solid. Picking and choosing your favorite ones. That's why today, like some people ask sometimes, like, do you build your stacks first? Do you build your pitchers first? Slate by slate is different. GPP stuff like that. Today, I would pick my favorite stack, plug it in, and then see if you can get Strider. Of course, play Strider. If you can't, if it's an expensive stack and you have to go a Cease Heaney or something like that, I think that's fine too. Yeah, I like Cease. I mean, looking at weather's important on this slate, which is why Luis Castillo gets a bump for me too. Pitchers Park in Seattle, but it's only 70 degrees in LA. Detmers, Cease, pretty good there. Texas, I assume the roof will be closed for Heaney. We got that notification. I can't remember if it was
roof is closed. Yeah, roof is closed.
It's closed. Yeah, okay. Closed there. 90 in Atlanta and Minnesota. Sonny Gray we didn't already like, but Strider, if you're trying to poke holes in him, 90 degrees, ball's going to be flying in Atlanta. Corey Pooler dropped in chat just in the month of June. Whose K-prop was? Cease higher K-prop than Strider right there, so that was interesting. But poking holes in the chalkiest guy, balls will be flying in Atlanta for sure. Baltimore, Cincy, we don't love pitchers there, but it's hot there. 75, wind blowing, looks more horizontal in New York, but I think balls will be flying a little bit in New York as well for Verlander. So yeah, that's why 70 degrees only in Chicago and LA. I like the Cease Detmers pairing. And it gets you out of pitcher cheap and lets you pay up an expensive stack. But rounding out pitcher, we'll go top 3. I'm gonna say Luis Castillo because I think ownership projections even have it. I think it'll be more spread out than they even think. I think Strider or people are just going to go to Verlander and in that range. And I think Castillo's left out, and I really like him in this spot. So Castillo 1 for me, Cease 2. Yeah, I don't know. After that, it's really if Strider, if you could play him, Verlander, Heaney, Detmers. I don't have a strong lead in any of those range. I guess I'll go back to Verlander since I like picking on the Brew Crew, but I think he will be the chalkiest of the bunch. Castillo definitely my favorite though. What about you? Top 3 pitchers, Nades?
Yeah, I'll go Dylan Cease number 1. I will go Justin Verlander number 2, and then Reed Detmers number 3. Andrew Heaney, I think, is a viable option, but when we talk about Detroit bats, I'm going to bring something up here, especially over the last 30-day numbers here, and I actually have interest in these Tigers a little bit here. I mean, you're going to see right around 30% ownership on Andrew Heaney for a good reason, right? He's probably going to be in line for the win here with Texas overall, but I'd put him as a distant 4th. And then if I can get up to the top 2 guys, I actually did build a team on one of my 3 teams tonight where I did go double spend Strider and Castillo, which I think will be very, very unique, doing double spend up pitchers. So that's the route I'm approaching. If I play those 2 guys, I think I might just pair them together at the top and just grab cheap bats. And hopefully hey, if they break the slate, hopefully my cheap bats come through kind of thing. So that's how I'm approaching the slate. I'm really living in that mid-range.
Love it. Love it. That is pitching on the 6-game slate. It's a fun one. I feel like I said, I think 6 very, very viable pitchers. And if you like anyone else, a Sonny Gray like Eric or other spots, they'll definitely be very, very low owned. But that is pitching. Again, we do appreciate 260 watching. Appreciate all of you guys out there. If you could hit the like button and then a big black subscribe button right next to it, helps us out a ton. And if you're not a member at SHIPITNation.com, don't know what you're doing. We're talking pitching tools on the show, stack rankings, hitter rankings, projections, core plays. Hoop absolutely been on fire in multiple sports. His slate plans up. Nate's got his DK core. Hamwich, FanDuel, G Ryzen dropped his quick hits video earlier. If you play cash, you get cash cores from me on both sites too. No better deal out there. PGA's been on fire. We just got Marley. Very excited for Marley coming over. We'll be talking a lot of MMA with me. Best ball we have as well. $59 a month, $599 a year. Make sure you do get in the Discord as well if you join. No better deal in the industry. Let's keep it going, though. Game by game, Nades. First game of the night. Cincinnati Reds, Baltimore Orioles. Brandon Williamson, Cole Irvin on the mound. I definitely like Baltimore. I think Brandon Williamson's the worst pitcher on the slate. Jake came in and talked about weather a little bit. Yeah, I talked top of the show. Baltimore and the Mets game has a little weather concern. We're not weathermen. Definitely monitor it, though. We're going to talk like everything plays since I think that is the most likely outcome. But, yeah, I like Baltimore. I think Williamson is awful. I think Baltimore is going to get a good amount of ownership, at least the top half. Like Austin Hayes is definitely going to get some. Adley, all this top half of the order. The bottom half will be lower owned. Jorge Mateo, I think, at a loaded shortstop position is interesting because everyone's just going to go Jordan Westberg, the guy making his debut at mid-price 2K. So Jorge Mateo is going to be really low owned. Thoughts on the mid-price 2K guy on Baltimore, though, and your thoughts on either of these 2 stacks?
Yeah, I like this game, both sides of it, to be honest with you. I'm seeing Cole Irvin has a pretty decent projection, so he was hitting the optimizer quite a bit because he is 5K. I have zero interest in going to him, I'll tell you that right now. So that was an easy X over me. People will play him. He's 5K. There is some strikeouts to be had in this Reds team, but, hey, overall, they're starting to come around, right, with the young talent, McLean, Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, these guys are starting to play some ball, and it's incredible weather in Baltimore, right? I think the wind's blowing out as well. Prefer definitely the Orioles side. I mean, Brandon Williamson, 293 ISO allowed. I mean, just 16% strikeout rate, only a 31% ground ball rate. So, I mean, he's not a ground ball pitcher. He's getting barreled at a 15% clip. So, I mean, I love these Orioles. I mean, the top 4 guys I love. I mean, Aaron Hicks. I don't know what happened to Aaron Hicks this year title, but the dude is just launching bombs, and DraftKings refuses to raise his price. I mean, the dude is 2,600. I don't even know how many home runs he has right now, but every time I see that freaking alert and I see our guy Pensac in the Discord going nuts, stroking his meat to his Baltimore Orioles. I mean, there isn't a day that goes by that Baltimore does not get mentioned on Pensac's little stuff that he posted in the Discord. But tonight is a good reason. I mean, the Orioles are in a great spot. 5.2 implied run total. Brandon Williamson, by far the worst pitcher on the slate, in my opinion here. So you have to have interest in these guys. I do like Jorge Mateo a lot more than Westberg. I get it, right? Westberg's top 10 overall prospect in the league, making his debut. But the nice thing about Mateo, that dude just swipes bags left and right. I mean, he's just like Seti Mullins out there. And in the 9 hole, he gets a walk. He gets a single. I mean, there's a pretty good shot, Title. He's swiping second. He might even swipe third, and you're looking at 12 DraftKings points right there real quick. So I do like Mateo. I roster him a ton, especially when I'm playing the Orioles, especially when I like the top 4 guys, right? A 9, 1, 2, 3, 4 stack. Should be a little bit lower owned than some of those guys in the middle because, I mean, Westberg's hitting 7th at 2K. People want to play Strider, right? So they need salary savings. They'll likely be pressing his name at shortstop. But, I mean, Aaron Hicks, Santander, Adley Rutschman, Austin Hayes I love. Austin Hayes, I think, is one of the best bats on the slate when you consider his price, his power, his upside overall in this matchup. So, yeah, I love the Orioles here. On the Reds side, I do think the Reds make some sense against Irvin. 14.5 barrel rate for Irvin. Expected ERA approaching 9 for this guy. He's probably going to pitch 3 or 4 innings out there, and then the Orioles bullpen is going to come in behind him. Guaranteed 9th inning at bats for these Reds, and man, they're running hot right now. What'd they take? 2 or 3 games against Atlanta, right? Went on a 12-game winning streak until they finally lost to Atlanta. I mean, Matt McClain, Jonathan Indy is back in the lineup today. Spencer Steer would kind of be my 4 favorites. Tyler Stevenson, you always can play in the 7 hole. He's a little bit more expensive, so I think he definitely won't have a ton of ownership when you talk about guys like Jonah Heim, Mitch Garver, similar price point on DraftKings overall. So like both sides here, definitely prefer the Orioles, but definitely one of the best weather games on the slate. There is some slight rain and things, but overall I do think all these games actually end up playing, so I'm not worrying about that too much.
Yeah, I definitely love Baltimore, but I agree with you on the Reds too. I think they're probably going to be a bit overlooked. 2 through 4, like Ellie now 5.8K. You really got to pay for him. Steer's expensive. India 5K. I just think other people go to some of these other games. Good hitting weather, guaranteed 9th inning at bat. Cheap bats in that order too with expensive ones. Ben Hot, yeah, I like these Reds too. Game stack it up, and yeah, the Mateo literally might be 1% owned because everyone, if they do play Baltimore, they're going to play Westberg at shortstop. He's $1,300 cheaper. He projects way better, or not way better. He projects a little better. He is the better player, top prospect. But like you said, Mateo always has upside just with his legs. So sign me up. And
I do want to mention something about Westberg. So I get it, right? I mean, the kid is a stud. 18 home runs right now in the minors. He's hitting 295, has 6 stolen bases, so he will run a little bit. 54 runs batted in, 79 hits. So, I mean, the kid is a stud, right? But, I mean, sometimes you see this go one of 2 ways, right, Title, when they make their – sometimes it takes a game or 2 for them to get kind of shake the nerves a little bit, things like that, especially when guys like Ellie De La Cruz and stuff like that have came up and absolutely exploded from day one, right? They feel a little bit more pressure, right? I mean, he's a top 10 prospect. He was in kind of the same caliber tier as those guys were, right? So, from a little game theory – I have to assume he's got to be 20+% owned, I would assume. Pretty healthy implied run total, 2K. Everyone knows the stats. Everyone knows his metrics. And you got a guy right there at the same position, a little bit more expensive, that could definitely outscore him. I mean, it's baseball at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the ownership, what it is the big question because shortstop's loaded. Lindor is a great price. He's going to get ownership. Ellie right there at short. Like, there's multiple ways you can go. That's what I mean. Like, if you're telling me he's 15% owned, I mean, that's a very solid play. I don't think he's a bad play by any means. He's not going to be like when Tatis came back and he was just mid-price at 2K. It's nothing like that at all. I think he's a fine play, mini stack in full stacks. But, I mean, he could be 15, 20% like you're saying. And I think Mateo won just when you get that 20X difference right there. I mean, there's no way that he's going to outperform him 20-1 when you're talking that way. So I just think Mateo will be under owned in Baltimore stacks, and he's just going to be so low. And I don't love it as a one-off. Of course, in a vacuum, give me Jordan over him. But yeah, that's my thought process there. I do like the Reds. I like full game stacking this one as well. Like Ryan McKenna, and that's hard to get to. That's why the top half of Baltimore definitely looks better. I don't mind. That's why I say Mateo is the wraparound. But even if you left off like Austin Hayes, he's definitely going to be popular. 9, skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Think about how you use it. Some of these guys will be more popular than others. Always look at the cash stuff at SHIPIT Nation. Look at projections, see where ownership's going. We always talk about it in the Discord as well. But 10 total. We spent a lot of time on that game, but both sides. Cole Irvin, Brandon Williamson, two of the worst pitchers on the slate. Got to have some interest in the bats. We'll keep it rolling. Again, we do appreciate if you hit that like button for us. Helps us out a ton. Milwaukee Brewers, New York Mets, Colin Ray, Justin Verlander on the mound. Colin Ray, I do not think is very good. I like some of these Mets, but you mentioned you thought Texas was the chalkiest team. I think the Mets will probably be the chalkiest team. There's a good amount of salary relief, even in like Lindor under 5K, Marte under 4K, Nimmo. Like these prices just seem pretty too good, too cheap in the spot they're in. So I think they're the chalk. I like targeting Ray, but there's a lot of good spots on the slate. If they are the chalk, which I think they are, I'd rather go to lower owned spots. But what are your thoughts? Mets and the Brewers definitely in a good spot against Ray.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Mets here. The nice thing, so we're talking chalk in baseball, right? It's all relative to roster construction. There's so many ways to get different. I mean, our guy Hoop ships 50K every other day and plays the chalk every single slate. I mean, you can pretty much look at the cash core, and Hoop's main GPP core is pretty similar to cash core. Guy just absolutely prints, but he plays the bottom of the order guys, like we talked about, like Mateo, like things like that, right? So little things you can do to get different roster-wise. I'm seeing about 5 teams projected 10% or higher in terms of total stack ownership. So I do think it spreads. So find your favorite stack and just go with it, right? I just think Colin Ray's overperformed all year. We talked about it last time, right? I think he's just kind of skating by, right? 20% K rate. The Mets don't strike out much as it is. Good weather in New York. And I mean, the Mets have started to hit the ball a little bit, right? I think 1 through 9 are definitely in play. My preferred guy, I mean, if I had to pick my favorite bat, by far, Pete Alonso. But I think if anyone had to pick their favorite bat from the Mets, it would definitely be Alonso. Francisco Lindor has been crushing the ball. He's 4,700 at shortstop. Nice little discount off of Corey Seager. Brandon Nimmo. I like Jeff McNeil quite a bit down there too in the 8-hole. Again, I talk about it all the time. The bottom of the order guys go under owned. Hoop talks about it. When he shipped 50K, he played the chalkiest team, but he had 6% owned guys that were in the bottom of the order in the chalkiest stack, and that made him different. Solo shipped on a smaller slate like this. So Jeff McNeil, Francisco Alvarez, 8-9 in that Mets lineup. I like both of those guys. Brett Beatty has actually pretty good numbers against righties at home. He's just 3K flat at third base. So very affordable team. I do think that definitely increases their ownership a little bit here. But, I mean, when the Braves have a 5 implied run total, Texas is over 5. Seattle's approaching 5. Baltimore's approaching 5. Cincinnati's right there at 4.8. I mean, ownership's going to spread out. So I'm just going to trust in the Mets here. And the bullpen has not been the same for Milwaukee. So I do like the Mets quite a bit. 1 through 9, I think, are in play. On the Brewers side, I mean, sure, if you want to make a case to stack against 30% owned Verlander, right? And hopefully he doesn't return to his recent form of the last 2 starts, right? His strikeouts drop a little bit. I mean, sure, you can play guys like Rowdy Tellez, Christian Yelich would probably be my preferred. Jesse Winker, maybe a lefty in there, 2,500. But overall, I'm not going to get to the Brewers on this slate. You can't play everyone. But, yeah, definitely love the Mets side.
Yeah, I don't think Brewers the craziest with the game theory against chalk Verlander, but there's, like you mentioned, the ownership wise, like 4 or 5 teams going to be similarly owned. Ownership is going to be pretty spread out today, especially at pitching. Strider is going to be chalk, but the Heaney, Cease, Detmers, talking bats, Texas, Mets, Orioles, there are multiple spots. Yeah, I don't really think the Brewers are where I want to get to for stacks. Yeah, Hoop's in here saying big Nades knows how Hoop works. Yeah, you can always get different in stacks, like you said. If you are playing chalk, just try and get a 20% less owned pitcher, cheaper or lower owned secondary stack, stuff like that. Don't jam all the chalk, but of course you can jam some chalk. They are chalk for a reason. Our guy Marley in here as well. Vinny, what's going on, man? Hope everything's going well. DFS player, GG, Suki's in here as well. What's going on? We do appreciate 340 watching. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Again, like button, big black subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. And if you're not a member at SHIPITNation.com, $59 a month, $599 a year. You need projections to compete in DFS. We have projections, have hitting tools, stack rankings, pitcher rankings. Also have core plays from Nades right here. Hamwich in chat. He does FanDuel. G. Ryzen talks FanDuel core play slate plan. Hoops give his core and his whole slate. Some of his favorite pitchers, stacks, a low-owned stack as well. Cash games, too. I give core plays for FanDuel and DraftKings. And, of course, in the Discord, Nate's talked a little bit about Pensac. Pensac, a crusher. A lot of crushers are in the Discord. Hofbrau, one of the best out there, always in Discord, too. just talking DFS, talking whatever, having fun, shooting the shit in Discord. Again, $59 a month. You cannot get a better deal out there. $599 a year. We'd love to have you at SHIPITNation.com. Let's keep it going, Nades. Couple games left on this slate. Minnesota Twins, Atlanta Braves, Sonny Gray, Spencer Strider on the mound. I like picking on Sonny Gray today. I think the Braves are going to be low owned, man. They are expensive, but there are enough cheap pitchers on this slate. People see the name Sonny Gray. They see the price tags on some of these bats, and I think they go to cheaper spots. I like playing bats in Atlanta in the summer when it's warm like it is today. The balls fly. Sonny Gray hasn't been great in the past couple starts. Sign me up for these Braves. They are expensive, but that will keep ownership down. Enough cheap pitchers. Go to the Heaney, Detmers or something like that we were talking. So Braves for me, and I'm not picking on Strider. If the Twins are on the winner, I am not winning. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing that we have going here, the Braves, right, just absolutely went bonkers against Cincinnati. The weather is incredible here. Strider, their ace, is on the mound. 90 degrees and humid, wind blowing out in Truist Park. Beautiful stadium there. I was over there. My work's headquartered down there, so we had a nice little private tour. Got to sit in all the best seats and locker rooms, stuff like that. And I think the Braves here tonight can definitely be the highest scoring team on the slate. And the nice thing about the Braves, right? Typically, everyone wants to roster these Braves, but tonight's different, right? Because they see the name Sonny Gray. But last 30 days, Sonny Gray has not been the same Sonny Gray. His ground balls haven't been as high. Typically, he's a pretty high ground ball pitcher. They've dropped a little bit. I'm just going to err on the side of this Braves talent and this roster and recent form of Sonny Gray. I love the Braves here tonight. 5 implied run total against Sonny Gray. That tells you Vegas is kind of in our camp title. And our guy, TDA, Travis d'Arnaud, right there in the middle of that lineup. The dude absolutely smashes right-handed pitching. Last time I talked about him, stroked him on this show, he went for a double dong. I think he hits at least one again tonight here against Mr. Sonny Gray in Truist Park. So I love him. Matt Olson crushes righties as well at home. Ronald Acuna continues to be a cheat code. Ozzie Albies is on a tear. Our guys, the bottom of the order guys here, Mr. Rosario. I think Hoop has a Rosario poster on his ceiling. Mm-hmm. Every time he's on the slate, Rosario makes Hoop score. But, hey, that's an expensive poster right now. Shipped him a lot of giblets over here in terms of printing money. Michael Harris, I mean, 1 through 9, these guys make plays. I mean, Arcia probably would be the guy that I have the least interest in. So that means he's definitely going to hit a home run here tonight, probably. On the Twins side, I'm not going against Strider. I think Strider's an incredible play. It's just the salary, right? It's the salary and roster construction that the reason that I didn't have a ton of interest in him. I guess if you wanted to pick anyone, Carlos Correa has been the best Twins hitter as of late, or Max Kepler. Those are the only 2 guys, but I'm not doing it here on a 6-game slate. But yeah, Braves, I mean, I'm seeing them 6-7% ownership as a stack, which is like the 6th or their 7th highest owned team on the slate on a 6-game slate. And I think, I mean, would it be crazy for them to score the most runs title on the slate with their talented roster? I don't think so.
No, yeah, balls will be flying 90 degrees. If it was 70 degrees, yeah, Eric said that. He said the door opened behind you. He was creeped out. And Nade's noticed that it opened behind. But yeah, if it was 70 degrees, I wouldn't have nearly as much interest. If you followed me talking baseball over the years, like I like parks, I like weather. It's very important. Balls fly. Balls will be flying in Atlanta. And Sonny Gray has not been the same the past couple of weeks. So sign me up for these Braves. Low ownership, mini stack, full stack. They're going to be low owned because of those prices. But yeah, I mean, if you want Strider, you ain't 5-man stacking these Braves. So yeah, it comes with opportunity cost, of course. Sign me up for these Braves, though. Give me some of these mid-tier pitchers in 5-man Brave stacks. It does work out well. 3 games left, Nades. Detroit Tigers, Texas Rangers, Matthew Boyd, Andrew Heaney on the mound. Heaney going to get some ownership. Do the Tigers for leverage make any sense to you? Then talk about these Rangers. You said you had a little interest in Boyd, but Rangers, one of the higher totals on the slate. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have interest in Boyd personally. It's just our metrics over here. He ranks pretty good. Let me see what we're at for likes, Title. We're at 111 likes. We have 320 plus watching here. That's pretty hurtful. Let's see if we can get to 175 likes. Set the bar high. If we do get that, we'll give away our top 3 ranked hitters over here and our second ranked pitcher. Title already gave away our top ranked pitcher over here. So we'll do that for the people if they do respond. I mean, those metrics have been absolutely crushing over here. We've posted on Twitter a couple of times. I mean, I think the Tommy Henry night was one for the ages, right? Posted 35 DraftKings points. He was our top ranked pitcher on a loaded slate. So we'll give that away if the people do respond. 175 likes to get that. Before I talk about this game here, Detroit Tigers, I mean, looking at the last 30 days, take a guess what their strikeout rate. I think they have the lowest strikeout rate over the last 30 days against left-handed pitching.
They've been smashing, man.
I mean, 13% lineup strikeout rate over the last 30 days against lefties. Mr. Andrew Heaney is going to get ownership. I like these Detroit Tigers as a very contrarian stack. I mean, Zach Short has some power there. Spencer Torkelson, I mean, our guy G. Risen's boy. I mean, I think he's hoops Eddie Rosario as Mr. Spencer Torkelson for G. Risen. The dude always talking about his rookie cards, thinking they're going to make him rich or something. Andy Ibanez, Javier Baez. I mean, Matt Verling. I mean, all these guys. Those five are kind of my preference, but I mean, they're going to be super low owned. Andrew Heaney's going to get 25, 30% ownership here. He definitely has K upside, but last 30 days, these Tigers definitely have a very, very low strikeout rate, just 13%. Pretty good ISO numbers as well against lefties. So no one's going to play the Tigers. I definitely have some interest in these Tigers in this game. And yeah, I mean, Rangers, right? Rangers, for a good reason, are definitely in a great spot. I mean, you got guys like Josh Young in your lineup that absolutely murder left-handed pitching. I love him. He's definitely my favorite Ranger. But the nice thing about these guys is 1 through 9, you can play them, right? They got cheaper guys down at the bottom in Zeke Duran, Leo Tavares, Jonah Heim, Mitch Garver are both there at the catcher position. Going to take ownership away from each other. I like them both. I prefer Mitch Garver a little bit, but I do think he is going to be slightly higher owned, right? Because he's not lefty-lefty. He's 4K. He's $500 cheaper, right, than Jonah Heim is. So I like all these guys. The two guys that will definitely go lower owned, Corey Seager, number one, 6,200 lefty-lefty matchup. But he has a 294 expected ISO against lefties at home this year, lefty-lefty, and just a 9% K rate. So dude puts the ball in play, has power. It doesn't matter if it's lefty-lefty. And guess what? Once they knock Boyd out of this game early, that Detroit Tigers pen is coming in, and he definitely will have the splits advantage there. So 1 through 9 for me for the Rangers, but I do like the Tigers side. Hopefully these Rangers can get me back, because I definitely bet one of my friends. She's from New York yesterday. I was talking smack to her. She said the Yankees were going to win. And I said, I don't think the Yankees are going to win. I hate the Yankees. They were up 3-0 in the game and then just hit the brakes, and the Yankees came back and won. So she told me to make sure I mention that on the show, get a little dig. So I had to throw that in there. But overall, yeah, I mean, Rangers a great play. But these Tigers, I definitely think are going slightly overlooked, especially last 30 numbers.
Yeah, hopefully she better been tuning in. You better told her she went to watch to hear your shout out to her. But yeah, Tigers, yeah, they're so cheap. Like, you can do anything. I did misspeak because Eric called me out in chat. I did try when he called me out saying you can actually do Strider and a 5-man's Brave stack. I plugged in the cheapest 5 Braves. It still does work. Again, of course, you don't get all the Braves you want, but Tigers would be a secondary stack. You can do Strider, you can do 5 Braves. A Tiger secondary stack with these cheap bats would make something like that work. They have been hitting better, no doubt about it. Heaney can blow up. So, yeah, it's not the craziest thing by any means. They're not top 3 by any means for me, though. As far as the Rangers, I like the Braves more. I like Baltimore more. So, all right, Baltimore, Mets, Braves, Rangers. I know we're not ranking them yet, but what are the Rangers there? Are they 2? Are they 3? Are they last? Are they first? Just say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put the Rangers 3rd. I'm just going to trust our metrics over here, and I see Mr. Matthew Boyd ranked pretty high. So typically, I mean, me and Title talk about it all the time. It's not meaning I'm running to the window and slamming Matthew Boyd in all my lineups, right? But when you got 2 other teams, I mean, they're all going to get similar ownership. I'm going to put the Mets number 1, Baltimore number 3 or number 2, and then I'll put Braves number 3 before these Rangers. I kind of like all 3 of those. Kind of a 1A, 1B, 1C approach, and then the Rangers would probably fall in second behind those guys personally.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. They rank behind, or I like them less than Atlanta, than Baltimore as well. But good stack, ownership. It's a tough slate. It's a good slate. It's definitely a very good slate. Feels like a good 20 entry spot. Multiple pitchers, multiple hitters. It's going to be interesting to see see who's on the winner tonight. We got Colton's dad in chat. Good seeing you, Colton's dad. Hope everything's going well, man. Who else we got here? KMB Squid, Taco in here. Appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. We got 2 games left, Nades. What did you say? How many likes did they need for you said you give them the top hitter in the ranking?
175. They'll get the top three ranked hitters over here, and then they'll get the third ranked pitcher over here, because obviously everyone knows Mr. Spencer Strider is ranked pretty high over here. So we'll give that away. 175 likes though to get that job done. I think that's more than fair. There's 300 plus in here watching, so we definitely appreciate all of you. If you have not, hit the subscribe button. We are trying to make 2,000 subscribers, and we do have a giveaway coming once we do hit 2,000 subscribers. We're at about 1,750, give or take a couple. So definitely do that if you have not already.
Absolutely. 2 games left on the slate. Chicago White Sox, Los Angeles Angels, Dylan Cease, Reed Detmers on the mound. It's only 70 degrees in LA, but we got 2 pitchers that are going to get some ownership in this one. We talked both about having interest. Yeah, I mean, first glance, like we talked about all these other games, a lot of interesting spots with bats. I like both pitchers, so just crossing it off seems like my first instinct, but the bats will be low owned. You do get some double leverage, or you get the low ownership for both stacks, and you get the leverage with some ownership on both these guys. I want to say the White Sox. I think I like Cease a little more than Detmers. Guaranteed 9th at bats for the White Sox. Some of these righties, Luis Robert, been on fire. Andrew Vaughn right there, still cheap. I think I like the White Sox a little more, but again, definitely fall down the list when talking the 6-game slate. What do you got, Angels, White Sox?
Yeah, I definitely prefer the White Sox side much more than the Angels side. Again, I'm a believer in the altitude in Colorado, right? They just played 3 games, right? I think it was in Colorado. Now they return home. Not in the altitude anymore. I love Cease. Cease is my overall SP1 considering his matchup, his salary. So love him. But it won't be a slate with the White Sox on it that I don't mention our guy, Jake Berger, against a lefty. Absolutely smashes left-handed pitching. I don't think the lineup is out. I wouldn't be surprised to see him hitting in like the 3-hole, 5-hole, something like that, because it is against a lefty. He absolutely crushes lefties. Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Yasmani Grandal has actually hit lefties pretty well too. So I like those 4 guys. And yeah, these White Sox are going to be pretty low owned, and overall they're pretty cheap. I mean, Jake Berger, 3,900. I think, especially at third base, right? When you got guys like Josh Young, Brett Beatty, Austin Riley. I mean, guys that people want to play, right? Ellie De La Cruz, Raymond Urias. I mean, nobody's really going to play Jake Berger, especially when they want to roster Reed Detmers. So definitely prefer the White Sox side. Angels side is a cross-off for me personally.
Like it. We got 1 game left on the slate. Shannon here, typical Angels lost 2 out of 3 to the Rockies. Hey, hopefully they lose it tonight again, and Cease absolutely shoves like Cease in this spot. Last game on the slate, though, Washington Nationals, Seattle Mariners, Trevor Williams, Luis Castillo on the mound. I mean, no one's playing the Nats, including myself. As far as the Mariners, another team right there, 5 implied total. I do think they're good. Like, I think Baltimore will be higher owned. I think the Mets will be higher owned. I think they might be like 5 on the slate, something like there for ownership. Trevor Williams, the dude does not miss many bats, that's for sure. Worse against lefties. Jared Kelenic right there staring me in the face. JP Crawford cheap at that shortstop position. That is absolutely loaded today. I like some of these Mariners. How they like, I like Baltimore more though. I like the Braves. I don't know. The Mariners are interesting. I definitely like them. I think I like them more than Texas. It's hard, like pitching, ranking these 1, 2, 3 for pitching, for hitting on this slate. It's like a jumbled mess today, and I think ownership's going to show, and it's a fun one that way. Mariners probably 3, 4, something like that for me. Prefer the lefties. Definitely no Nats. What about you?
Yeah, Mariners definitely in play for me. A little late night hammer. It's not the greatest hitting park, right, in Seattle. But it's just a bet on Mr. Trevor Williams just being Trevor Williams. So definitely love Kelenic. I mean, the kid's a stud, Wisconsin boy too. Wouldn't be right if I didn't bring him up when we got the Wisconsin panel here breaking down the MLB slate. Kid crushed in high school, crushed growing up. Knew he was going to be in the big leagues ever since I saw him. So I love him. Cal Raleigh, I love him as a lefty. And Mike Ford, I mean, Mr. Mike Ford has been dropping bombs. He's 2,100 at first base nobody's going to spend down at first base. It's typically a position, right? People spend up. You got Pete Alonso, Matt Olson. I mean, the list goes on and on.
If they do, it'll be Vogelback. Sorry, I know your echo's so bad on your mic, but if they do, it'll be Vogelback.
Yeah, it's going to be Vogelback for sure in that Met stack. Mike Ford, nice little pivot there. I mean, the dude has a 258 expected ISO against righties at home overall. So I think he's one of the best salary savers overall on the entire slate. Mariners definitely firmly in play for me. I think I put them kind of in that Texas group overall. I am seeing them title I'm looking at ownership in terms of stack ownership. I'm seeing them contesting with Baltimore and the Mets for the highest own. And then Texas and Cincinnati kind of filtering in behind. So obviously that's going to adjust. I think all 5 of those teams are going to be the highest on stacks personally on the slate. How it all shakes out, I guess we'll know once lock comes around. But I mean, they are going to get ownership. It's not the greatest hitters park. So I give slight lean to these other teams that we did break down. But yeah, I think the Mariners are more of a mini stack for me. Those lefties, Cal Raleigh, Suarez, Mike Ford, if you need salary. So that's kind of where I'm at with those guys. And then the Nationals, I'm out on the Nationals here. I liked your points on Castillo. I might need to give him a better look. And he does check out pretty good on our rankings over here, which definitely shot me in the face yesterday. Mr. Corbin Burns was ranked pretty high. I didn't talk about him much. He threw a good game. So these rankings just continue to print money. So Mr. Castillo being up there, definitely have to look at him a little bit more.
Absolutely. That is all 6 games on this slate. 50 minutes talking pitching, talking bats with my man Nades. Again, appreciate all of you guys hanging out. And you need 175 likes, so it's 11 more likes for the top 3 hitters in our rankings over here. So we're gonna go our low-owned pitcher, lower-owned pitcher, our dong of the day. I'll check the likes. If you guys got 175, we'll get them before we get on out of here. And again, if you're not a member at SHIPIT Nation, we're talking pitcher rankings. We gave out Luis Castillo was number 1. Boyd was up there. Has absolutely been crushing. Projections by Boomer, who's been crushing. Stack rankings, hitter rankings that we'll give out top 3, as well as Hoop Slate Plan, talking favorite stacks, pitchers, low-owned stacks, G. Risen, Nades, Hamwich, all core plays, cash games, core plays for that as well. Then in the Discord, talking sports all the time. PGA going on as well, been on fire. MMA, again, Marley joining here. Very excited for that. So be on the lookout. $59 a month, $599 a year. ShipItNation.com. Would love to have you. Nades, we're talking pitcher, lower own, like 20% or less, something like that. I mean, I don't know. There's only so many pitchers on this slate, though, so you can choose whatever. I'm going Luis Castillo. Again, I think his ownership, like 30, is kind of what people are saying in the industry. I think that is too high. I think everyone's going to either go Strider or everyone's either going to go in that AK range. Castillo gets left out a bit. I'm thinking like 20, 22, something like that. Low 20s, high teens. But Luis Castillo for me. What about you, lower owned pitcher?
Yeah, I don't really know how low owned he's going to be, but I don't really care. I'm going Mr. Dylan Cease, 7,700 against this Angels team coming out of Coors. Everyone just saw what they did Saturday, right? Everyone watched that. It was kind of an island game. And when you see a box score and they have 20-plus runs in the 4th inning, everyone kind of tunes in and peeks at that a little bit. But I think Mr. Cease comes in and mows these Angels down. Even if he gives up a bomb or two to Ohtani or Trout, I think he has the K upside to really post a good score here. So I love him at 7,700 there. So I'm going to Dylan Cease.
Dong of the day, Tom Nades. Dong of the day. We talked about it, narrative street, all of that last game. I didn't want to talk too much about it. I had to mention the name, though. Jared Kelenic. We're talking Wisconsin Knights. Trevor Williams can't get anybody out, anyone from the left side. Kelenic, all the pop in the world. Will be low owned too. Jared Kelenic going deep against Mr. Trevor Williams. Give me your dong of the day, Nades.
Yeah, I'm going to give the people a little 2-pack from the same team. I'm going Josh Young, number 1. Matthew Boyd absolutely smashes lefties. Texas is going to get some ownership, but they are expensive. People want to play Strider, so it might be lower than people expect. Josh Young, going to hit a bomb. And then I'm going at the catcher position on the same team. I'm not going Mr. Jonah Heim. I'm going Mr. Mitch Garver, historically a lefty masher. 4K catcher position, batting 7th. Nice little wrap stack if you want to add Mr. Zeke Duran, Leo Tavares down there, wrap it around to the top. I like both of those guys to hit a bomb here tonight.
Awesome. And you guys did get the job done for us. Over 175 likes. We appreciate that. Top 3 hitters in our rankings. Number 1, Corey Seager will be very low owned today. Travis Darno checks in at number 2. And then Pete Alonso wraps it out at number 3. So Seager, Travis Darno, Pete Alonso. Love all 3 of those guys. That is for sure. Awesome show, Nades. Again, appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. Say it a ton, but we really do. You guys make this show. The chat makes this show. We'll be in Discord. All the content, I think, is already up at SHIPITNation.com. If anything changes, we highlight everything in yellow, and that is how you know. But monitor weather a little bit. The Mets game, the Baltimore Orioles game. Before we get on the show, I thought it was more likely good to go, but monitor people. Kevin Roth is who I follow on Twitter, does it for free if you guys are interested. But awesome stuff. Like button on the way out if you haven't already. We appreciate that a ton. Looking to see some Ship It Nation logos up top for Nadesify. I'm Title Town. Good luck, everybody.